The 16th of March, 1943, the North Atlantic, 50 degrees north, 35 degrees west. The wind here doesn't just blow, it screams. It tears the tops off the freezing swells, turning the ocean's surface into a blinding haze of salt and ice. You are standing on the bridge wing of the Harry Luckenbach, a freighter buried deep within the columns of convoy HX-229. The sun has set, but there is no darkness tonight. The horizon is burning. 3 miles off your port quarter, a tanker has just been broken in half. The orange glow of burning aviation fuel illuminates the low-hanging clouds, casting long, dancing shadows across the terrified faces of the lookouts. The water temperature is 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Life expectancy in the water is measured in minutes, not hours. Captain James Evans grips the railing, his knuckles white against the freezing metal. He isn't looking at the burning tanker. He is looking up. He is scanning the leaden, gray ceiling of the sky, searching for a shape that he knows isn't there. A consolidated B-24 Liberator, a short Sunderland, any long-range patrol bomber, but there is nothing. Just the low, angry clouds and the smoke of dying ships. They are in the Black Pit, the Mid-Atlantic Gap. This is a stretch of ocean roughly 600 miles wide, where the laws of modern warfare dissolve. Here, the convoys are beyond the reach of land-based aircraft from Newfoundland to the west and Iceland or Ireland to the east. Here, the Royal Navy escorts are running low on fuel and depth charges. And here, the German U-boat arm reigns supreme. Beneath the surface, 20 distinct hydrophone signatures are closing in. It is the largest gathering of U-boats in the war so far. 3 separate wolfpacks, codenamed Raubgraf, Stürmer, and Dränger. Nearly 40 submarines are coordinating a massacre. To a traditional naval strategist, men like Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto in Tokyo, or even the big gun traditionalists in Washington and London, what is happening here is a failure of firepower. They believe wars are won by battleships and fleet carriers, by the decisive battle doctrine. To the Japanese Admiralty, the idea of a carrier is a sacred thing. A massive, fast, armored behemoth like the Shokaku or the Zuikaku, capable of launching 80 high-performance aircraft to duel with enemy fleets. They view the concept of a small, slow, converted merchant ship carrying a dozen planes as a joke, a waste of steel, a baby flat top. In the grand halls of naval planning, these vessels are dismissed as marginal. They are too slow to keep up with the battle fleet, too unarmored to survive a hit, and carry too few planes to matter. But Captain Evans doesn't need a fleet carrier. He doesn't need a battleship. He just needs one airplane. Just one. Because a U-boat on the surface is a predator, but a U-boat forced underwater by an aircraft is blind, slow, and terrified. "Hard to starboard!" the helmsman shouts. A torpedo wake, visible in the phosphorescence, streaks past the bow, missing by less than 20 yards. The radio room is screaming with distress signals from the rest of the convoy. Another explosion rocks the night the Irénée DuPont has been hit. The slaughter is systematic. The U-boats know they are safe. They stay on the surface, using their diesel engines to outrun the convoy, attacking like a pack of wolves tearing at a flock of sheep. They intercept the frantic radio messages from the convoy commanders pleading for air support, and they laugh. They know the range of the Liberators. They know exactly where the imaginary line in the ocean is drawn. They are hunting in the gap. Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz, sitting in his command center in Paris, believes this is the stroke that will sever Britain's jugular. If he can starve the UK of oil and food in this gap, the invasion of Europe will never happen. He is betting everything on the fact that the Allies cannot cover this hole in the ocean. But the solution to the Black Pit isn't a mighty fleet carrier. It isn't a technological wonder weapon. It is an ugly, boxy, rolling compromise that is currently struggling through sea trials in a shipyard thousands of miles away. The traditional admirals call them jeep carriers. The sailors who will soon crew them have a darker nickname based on their hull designation: CVE, combustible, vulnerable, expendable. But as the Harry Luckenbach steams into the darkness, prey for a dawn that might not come. The era of the baby flat top is about to begin. The dismissal of these small ships is about to become one of the Axis power's most fatal miscalculations. The 20th of April, 1943, Naval Operating Base, Norfolk, Virginia. The USS Bogue does not look like a weapon of war. Tied up alongside the pier, she looks exactly what she was born to be, a cargo ship with a flat wooden roof slapped on top. She lacks the sleek, predatory lines of a fleet carrier. There is no armored belt along her waterline to shatter torpedo warheads. There are no intricate bulkheads to contain flooding. Her skin is mild steel, barely thick enough to stop a heavy machine gun round, let alone a naval shell. She is built on a C-3 merchant hull, designed to haul grain or crates of machinery, not high-octane aviation fuel and high-explosive depth charges. Lieutenant Commander Giles Short stands on the flight deck, the wind whipping his khakis. He looks down the wooden runway. It is shockingly short, just over 400 feet. On a fleet carrier like the Enterprise, you have room to make a mistake. Here, if you miss the third wire, you hit the crash barrier. If you jump the barrier, you are in the water. To the pilots of the Composite Squadron VC-9 who are currently ferrying their aircraft aboard, the Bogue is a terrifying proposition. They call these ships Jeep carriers because they are rough, bouncy, and mass-produced. But the darker humor of the mess deck has already coined the definitive acronym for the CVE designation: combustible, vulnerable, expendable. The logic of the Navy Department is cold but undeniable. They can build a Bogue-class carrier in a fraction of the time it takes to build an Essex-class fleet carrier. Henry Kaiser, the industrial tycoon, is boasting that he will soon be launching these ships faster than the Germans can launch torpedoes. They are flooding the ocean with targets, betting that quantity has a quality all its own. But the skepticism runs deep. In the officers' wardroom, the talk is hushed but tense. The Bogue's top speed is barely 18 knots. A surfaced German U-boat, running its diesels hard, can do nearly the same. If the Bogue is caught alone by a wolfpack, she cannot run, she cannot hide, and with only two 5-inch guns mounted on her stern sponsons, she cannot fight a surface action. This disdain isn't limited to the Americans. German intelligence has spotted these ships leaving the shipyards. Their reports back to Berlin are dismissive. They categorize the CVEs as aircraft transports ferries, designed to move planes from the US to England. The Kriegsmarine commanders, steeped in the tradition of the battleship Bismarck and the heavy cruisers, cannot conceive that the Americans would be foolish enough to use these slow, thin-skinned tubs as frontline offensive weapons. To the Japanese naval attachés observing the war from Berlin, the CVE is an embarrassment to the profession. A carrier is supposed to be the crown jewel of the fleet, a symbol of national prestige. Using a merchant hull as a warship is an admission of weakness. They dismiss the threat. They are looking for the Yorktowns and the Lexingtons. They stop looking for the Bogues. But they are missing the point. Below decks on the Bogue, the hangar deck is a hive of organized chaos. Mechanics are chaining down 12 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers and 9 F-4F Wildcat fighters. These aren't the sleekest planes in the inventory. The Wildcat is already becoming obsolete in the Pacific dogfights against the Zero. But here, in the Atlantic, they aren't fighting Zeros. The Avenger is the hammer. It carries a lethal payload, acoustic homing torpedoes, or the Mark 54 depth charge. The Wildcat is the shield, armed with 50 caliber machine guns to strafe the U-boat's flak gunners and keep the sub down until the heavy hitters arrive. As the tugboats pull the Bogue away from the pier, the ship shudders. The single-screw propeller churns the muddy harbor water. She rolls in the wake of a passing destroyer, a sickening corkscrew motion that every sailor on board knows will turn into a nightmare once they hit the North Atlantic swells. Captain Giles Short watches the coast of Virginia recede. He knows the orders in his safe. They are not going to ferry planes to England. They are not going to hug the coast. They are forming a hunter-killer group. Task Group 21.11. The Bogue will not wait for the U-boats to come to the convoys. She, along with a screen of old, 4-stack destroyers, is going out to the middle of the ocean. They are going to the Black Pit. The traditionalists see a slow, weak target. Captain Short sees a mobile airfield that moves with the storm. For 3 years, the U-boats have used the gap in air cover as a sanctuary. The Bogue is about to close the door. Il 22 maggio 1943. Mid-Atlantic. 48 degrees north, 38 degrees west. The deck of the Bogue is pitching 20 feet violently. To Lieutenant Junior Grade Roger Santee, sitting in the cockpit of his TBF Avenger, the flight deck looks less like a runway and more like a postage stamp floating in a washing machine. Rain lashes against the plexiglass canopy. The ship's bow plunges into a trough, sending a sheet of white spray over the flight deck, drenching the plane handlers who are struggling to hold the wheel chocks. The signal officer, battling the wind in his yellow jersey, raises his paddles. This is the reality of the Jeep carrier. On a fleet carrier, you have stability. Here, you have to time your takeoff with the roll of the ocean. Launch at the wrong second when the bow is dipping down, and you simply drive off the end of the ship into the sea. Santee watches the paddles. The bow starts to rise. The signal officer drops his arm. Go. Santee jams the throttle forward. The big right cyclone engine roars, shaking the airframe. The Avenger lumbers forward, gathering speed painfully slowly. The end of the deck rushes up. He pulls back on the stick. The heavy torpedo bomber wallows into the air, settling dangerously close to the wave tops before the wings bite into the cold air and lift. He is airborne, and he is hunting. Inside the Combat Information Center CIC of the Bogue, the air is thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of electronics. This is the brain of the hunter-killer group. They are not waiting for the U-boats to find them. They are using a secret weapon, HF, DF, or Huff-Duff, high-frequency direction finding. A radio operator spins a dial. He picks up a burst of Morse code. It's short, less than 10 seconds, but it's enough. A U-boat is reporting its position to headquarters in France. They are chatty. They are confident. They think no one can hear them out here in the middle of nowhere. The operator marks a bearing. A destroyer in the screen marks another. They triangulate. Vector 270. The voice crackles in Santee's headset. Distance 40 miles. Go get him. Santee banks the Avenger west, his wingman in a Wildcat fighter tucked in close. They drop below the cloud layer, skimming just 500 feet above the gray swells to stay off the U-boat's visual horizon. 40 miles away, on the bridge of U-569, the mood is relaxed. The submarine is cruising on the surface, charging its batteries with its diesel engines. The lookouts are scanning the horizon, but their guard is down. They are in the gap. The nearest Allied airbase is 700 miles away. The sky belongs to them. The Captain Lieutenant lights a cigarette, shielding it from the wind. He is thinking about the tonnage he will sink tonight. He is thinking about the Iron Cross. He does not hear the Avenger over the sound of his own diesels until it is too late. Bandit! 2 o'clock! A lookout screams, his voice cracking with disbelief. The German commander spins around. He sees a shape that shouldn't exist. It's a single-engine plane, ugly and gray, dropping out of the low clouds like a stone. Alarm, tauchen, dive. The klaxon screams. Men scramble through the hatch, but the physics of the hunter-killer team are already in motion. The Wildcat fighter screams in first. It isn't there to sink the sub. It's there to keep the Germans' heads down. Its 50 caliber machine guns tear up the water, walking a line of white geysers right across the U-boat's conning tower. The German flak gunners, who should be manning the 20mm cannon, are forced to duck for cover. This buys Santee the seconds he needs. He lines up the submarine's wake in his bomb sight. He is too low for a torpedo. He selects depth charges. Wait. Now. He pickles the load. 4 Mark 54 depth charges tumble from the bomb bay. On U-569, the commander is just sealing the hatch when the world turns white. The depth charges don't need to hit the hull directly. Water is incompressible. The shockwave hits the steel pressure hull like a sledgehammer. Inside, bolts shear off, gauges shatter. The lights die. plunging the crew into darkness and the terrifying sound of rushing water. From the cockpit, Santee banks hard to look back. He sees the U-boat shudder. It lists heavily to port, vomiting oil and debris. It isn't diving, it's dying. He keys his mic. Scratch one hearse. I repeat, scratch one hearse. Back on the bogue, the cheers are muted. They know this is just the beginning. The useless baby carrier has just proven the Admirals wrong. They have extended the arm of the unthinkable into the sanctuary of the enemy. The Japanese naval observers, reading the reports of rising U-boat losses in the safe zone, are baffled. They assume the Americans have developed a new long-range bomber. They cannot imagine that the Americans have simply mass-produced a portable airport and dropped it in the middle of the ocean. The gap is closing. And for the U-boat crews, the Atlantic has just become a very small, very crowded place. The 12th of June 1943, the Central Atlantic. The hunter has become the prey. 3 months ago, a U-boat commander in the mid-Atlantic gap felt like a king. He could surface at his leisure, sunbathe on the casing, and hunt convoys with impunity. Now, the ocean has become a claustrophobic cage. Oberleutnant Werner drags a hand across his face. He hasn't slept in 30 hours. His boat, U-118, is a Type XB mine layer, acting as a tanker, a milch cow. His mission is vital. Refuel the attack boats so they can stay in the shipping lanes. Without him, the wolfpack starves. Without him, the offensive collapses. But Werner is terrified. Every time they surface to transfer fuel, the sky screams. It doesn't matter that they are 1,000 miles from the nearest land base. The planes are always there. Aircraft, port quarter, closing fast. The shout from the bridge is not a warning. It is a death sentence. Werner scrambles up the ladder. He expects to see a lonely patrol bomber. Instead, he sees a swarm. 4 TBF Avengers and 4 Wildcat fighters are diving out of the sun. They are painted in the tricolor camouflage of the U.S. Navy, dark sea, blue on top, white on the bottom. They look like sharks. These planes launched from the USS Bogue, which is prowling just over the horizon. The baby flat top is running a relentless factory-like schedule. Launch, recover, rearm, launch. The pilots are flying on coffee and adrenaline, fueled by the knowledge that they are winning. Battle stations. Man the flak guns, Werner screams. This is the new, desperate reality. Admiral Donitz, realizing his boats are being slaughtered underwater by new detection technology, has issued a grim order. Do not dive. Stay on the surface and fight it out. It is a suicidal directive, born of panic. He is pitting 20mm cannons against heavy machine guns and high-explosive rockets. The Wildcats strike first. They don't strafe in a straight line. They weave. Their 50 caliber guns chewing up the U-118's deck. The German gunners disappear in a red mist of exploding steel and seawater. The heavy flak guns fall silent, their crews cut down before they can fire a shot. Then come the Avengers. They don't drop depth charges this time. They drop something worse. As U-118 frantically tries to turn, creating a knuckle of whitewater, the Avengers release the Mark 24 Fido. It looks like a short, fat torpedo. The German crew, watching from the conning tower, expects it to run straight. It doesn't. The Fido is the Allies' secret weapon, a passive acoustic homing torpedo. It hears the cavitation of the U-boat screws. It doesn't need to be aimed perfectly. It just needs to be close. As the U-118 turns, the torpedo turns with it, correcting its course with terrifying intelligence. The explosion breaks the U-118's back. From the cockpit of his Avenger, Lieutenant Richard Rogers watches the massive supply submarine buckle. Thick, black oil erupts from the hull, staining the pristine blue of the mid-ocean. Survivors are jumping into the water, but the wolfpack they were coming to refuel is now doomed. Without fuel, the attack boats must retreat or drift helplessly. This scene is repeating itself all across the Atlantic. The USS Core, the USS Card, the USS Santee's scores of these expendable carriers are flooding the gap. They are systematically dismantling the U-boat arm. The statistics are staggering. In May 1943 alone, 41 U-boats are destroyed. Dönitz, the man who thought he could strangle England, is forced to withdraw his fleet from the North Atlantic. He radios his commanders. "We have lost the Battle of the Atlantic." The psychological impact is total. The German crews, who once mocked the amateur American Navy, are now refusing to sail. They call the escort carriers the ghost ships because they appear out of nowhere. The mid-Atlantic gap, the Black Pit, has been illuminated by the floodlights of naval aviation. But while the Atlantic becomes an allied lake, across the world, the Japanese Imperial Navy is still clinging to the old ways. They are still hoarding their massive battleships for a decisive battle that will never come. They read the reports of the U-boat defeat and dismiss them. They tell themselves that American escort carriers are a fluke, a desperate measure for an anti-submarine war. They do not understand what has been created. The Americans haven't just built a submarine hunter. They have perfected the art of mass-producing air power at sea. They have turned the complex, artisanal craft of naval aviation into an assembly line. And now that the Atlantic is secure, the baby flattops are looking for a new job. They are turning their bows toward the Pacific, and they are bringing the swarm with them. The 25th of October, 1944, off the coast of Samar, Philippines. The irony is absolute, and it is deadly. Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita stands on the bridge of the Yamato, the largest, most heavily armored battleship ever constructed. He commands a force of battleships and heavy cruisers designed for the decisive battle. They are the apex predators of the old naval world. Through his binoculars, he sees American carriers on the horizon. According to his training, according to the rigid doctrine of the Imperial Japanese Navy, these must be fleet carriers, Essex or Enterprise class, guarded by heavy cruisers. He orders his battleships to open fire with their massive 18-inch guns. He believes he has caught the main American battle fleet by surprise. He is wrong. He is shooting at Taffy 3, a humble task unit of tin can destroyers, and 6 baby flattops, including the USS Gambier Bay and the USS Streetlow. These are the same useless ships the Japanese dismissed years ago. They are the same combustible crates that the German U-boats mocked in the Atlantic. But here, in the Pacific, the dismissal leads to a catastrophic hesitation. Kurita cannot comprehend what he is seeing. The little carriers don't run away as fast as they should because they can't. Their top speed is barely 18 knots, but they fight with the ferocity of trapped badgers. The sky fills with American aircraft. They aren't just the sleek fighters of the fast carrier task forces. They are Avengers and Wildcats launching from the CVEs, some armed with nothing but depth charges or machine guns, making dry runs at the Japanese battleships just to distract the gunners. The Japanese Admirals had viewed the CVEs as a gap filler, a marginal patch for a temporary problem in the Atlantic. They failed to see the industrial reality. The United States didn't just build a few, they built an armada. By the end of the war, the U.S. Navy had commissioned over 100 escort carriers. While the massive fleet carriers chased the glory of sinking the Japanese Navy, the baby flattops did everything else. They became the air mattress of the Pacific. Every time a Marine stormed a beach at Iwo Jima or Okinawa, it was a CVE pilot who dropped the napalm and strafed the bunkers. Every time a supply convoy moved millions of tons of gear to the front, it was a CVE that swatted away the Japanese submarines. On the bridge of the Yamato, confusion reigns. The sheer volume of air attacks, the aggressive maneuvers of the toy carriers, and the smokescreens laid by their escorts convince Kurita that he is facing a much larger force. The psychological weight of the swarm breaks his nerve. He orders the retreat. The mighty Japanese center force turns away, defeated not by equal tonnage, but by the very ships they thought were beneath their notice. The Gambier Bay is lost, sinking beneath the waves, but she and her sisters have saved the invasion fleet. the lesson is written in oil and burning steel across two oceans. The Axis powers lost because they worshipped the exceptional, the ace pilot, the super battleship, the wonder weapon. They believed war was an art form reserved for the elite. The Escort carrier was the antithesis of that. It was ugly, it was slow, it was mass-produced by men and women who had been building refrigerators and cars just months before. It was the embodiment of a different philosophy, that a good enough weapon, available in overwhelming numbers, beats a perfect weapon that arrives too late. The mid-Atlantic gap is closed, the Pacific is conquered, and as the sun sets over the smoking waters of Leyte Gulf, the era of the battleship finally ends, overshadowed not just by the great fleet carriers, but by their smaller, scrappier, and undeniably victorious little sisters. The baby flattops have grown up, and they have won the war.